Hi, this is Rick Harsh, adjusting spatial arrangement for the beginning of this informative and persuasive um, booktube. I'm going to be talking about very little about several different books for various reasons, all of them the same. Anyway, I wanted to let you know the reason that I'm having trouble thinking normally is probably because of my age, but there are other reasons, I'm sure. One is that things have been just going wrong a lot lately, and in small ways, but disturbing. I'll give you one example. I was showering yesterday, and as a rule, a person should shower first thing in the morning. I've gotten out of that habit. I think largely because I sleep late, and then I wander around in my bathrobe until it's almost dinner time, and the house fills up with young people and so on, and I worry about showing my legs, and you don't want your what if I catch my son's girlfriend looking at my legs? What do I do? Well, cover them up, right? But don't even tempt. Okay, I'm 65, and yeah, and okay, let's not get into that. Anyway, the point is that I could be demonetized. Anyway, the point I'm trying to get at is simply that um, I should be showering first thing in the morning, and even though this is counterintuitive, I think when you shower in the morning first thing, and it's a habit, it's the right time to freshen up your mind. And so uh, what happens when you take a shower at like 5 in the afternoon, say, your mind is already done its best to freshen up. It probably hasn't, in my case. And so when I get into the shower, I'm just as sluggish of mind as I would be any other time of day, unless showering first thing when I wake up. So yesterday, I took a shower, and the big thing is, do I wash my hair today or not? And that's a simple decision, and I'm okay with it. But when I step out of the shower, I have to step on a towel that's on the floor. Only this time, the towel was folded a couple of times and scrunched up, kind of. And I got on the towel, and I kept trying to get my other leg. The towel's outside of the bathtub. I kept trying to get my other leg on the towel, but I was losing balance. And at one point, I started the my foot on the towel started sliding back, and I kept going like this, trying to retain my balance. And finally, I ended up against a cupboard, and that was it. It was okay. But, I thought, fuck, man, this is age 65. Wait till 70, 75, 80, 85 if I get that far. I mean, I'm going to have to start working out. And my workouts, I've already figured, are going to all be daily movements that we all make every day. Like this one. Just getting up. Like if I get up 10 times a day, I'm not taking the elevator every time. I'm walking up the stairs, and I'm all around, going to be a healthier person. I'm not going to shower 15 times a day, but when I get out of the bathtub, I'm going to get in and out like 5 or 10 times. And, I get better at the everyday things. I hope you think that's a good idea. Another thing to do is when you're when you're dealing with submissions, life is really hard. I have one of the writers who we're going to introduce to you has been reading submissions for me, um, and one of the problems there is that when he he sends me what he wrote to the people. But what I realized after a while is that I never gave him anybody's address. So he would send it to me, and I'd say, "Oh yeah, okay, good. That's good to know, etc." And then I realized at some point that I didn't give him the address, so all these people were getting nothing. It was I'm the man behind Kafka's nightmares in that case. But anyway, that's yet another thing. What I'm leading to is that when I'm burdened by the thought of one of the things I have to read, and it's 1,000 pages, and I think it might be really good, but it's written by a Portuguese writer in English, and so the quality of the writing is very good, but I tried a sample page, and there were a couple things that, because he wasn't a native speaker, were slightly off. When he's writing his own sentences, he's fine, but if he's using some kind of jargon or whatever, he might be a little, it might be a preposition off or something like that. So it seems a decent thing for me to do is read the whole thing, but it's 1,000 pages, and I'm right now feeling kind of brain beaten. And so what I'm looking for in a book right now, before I really tackle that, I'd like a big fat book that interests me all the way through. I tried to order a book on the CIA, and I think on specifically Allen Dulles, but Amazon refused my payment, which is always a good thing. And I don't like using them, but in Slovenia, I don't know where the fuck am I going to get books. So occasionally I order. I ordered Donoso's Obscene Bird of Night, and it took about 9 months, not for them to get it to me, but for them to alert me that they weren't going to send it to me. And so I never got it. And I was thinking about that. This is New Directions Press, an old favorite, for good reason. But I thought, why the fuck? I'm New Directions Press. I mean, I may be, just following their direction. But the point is that if you order a book from me and you don't get it in 2 to 4 weeks, you can contact me and say, "Did you send that book?" "Yeah, I sent it." Sometimes it's lost. That's been happening more lately than it had been for a long time. But most of the books, they get there, and they get there fairly quickly. So what the fuck's with New Directions? If you mailed it from where you were to Slovenia, it might take a month. It might take 6 weeks. It might get caught up at the border if they didn't pay their European Union tax. No sense to it. Their distribution is moronic. It prevents books from arriving anywhere. Make me order it from the United States, because if I'd have ordered it from the United States, it would have come immediately, and I'd have gotten it a couple weeks after all of you got it. But now I'm just thinking, well, do I really want to read that again now? And should I order it again? Because now, of course, it'll come in 7 days from Germany. Well, I don't know if I feel like reading it anymore. I feel like reading something that improves my thinking a little bit, but is entertaining and engaging and absorbing. And so I looked at my bookcase, and I thought, what falls into that category? Well, that's what this is about. This is one of our smaller big books, one of our thinner big books, Jeff Bursey's Assume a Position, Considerations, and Interviews. I've been reading this like I read all this kind of thing, like even Stephen Moore's latest fat one from several years ago. I probably haven't read every page, but okay, here Harold Jaffe. Recently, the Equus people from Prague came, and they left I think it was a Harold Jaffe book. Yeah, the prolific U.S. writer and published fiction. Yeah, okay. There's, you read this. Bercy is an extremely good um, writer, except when he writes about Karl Ove Knausgaard, whom he praises out of some sort of delirium or whatever. I mean, otherwise, like when he writes about Tim Conley, who we publish. Tim, you here? I don't know. He's in the bedroom anyway, tied up under the bed. My wife doesn't even know he's there. So Tim Conley, yeah. Percy wrote about him, and this is, I think this is all Canadian writers, but you know, anybody you read about is going to be likely be someone you haven't heard of, and if it's someone you have heard of, Harry Mulisch, one of those guys, a name that you hear now and then, but you never look into. You never order his books, and that's all right. I'm not judging him. But apparently, when he reads Knausgaard, he has some kind of I guess he didn't want me to say that. It's witchcraft, to quote Frank Sinatra. Anyway, so this is one of those books, but it's not deeply absorbing, except chapter by chapter, or whatever. Anyway, so what books do we have that are deeply absorbing and are not that you wouldn't call difficult? One of my favorites in this category, and this is probably the one I'm going to pick, is Filthy Synecdoche. I haven't read it since, I think right after we bought it or whatever. Or maybe, I don't know, I think I kind of generally proofed it for him or something. But Ben Lieberman wrote this book, and he, if this were 1967, you hear this kind of thing a lot, but if this were 1967 and he got the right review, he'd be one of those writers who is every 2-3 years putting out a quality novel and is known and taught and so on. And this is a very offbeat, interesting book that takes place on an army camp in South Carolina, I believe, and it's been so long I don't know how much more I can tell you, except that it's a very absorbing, interesting book, and I think that's my choice already. But I could have chosen Mark Nash's the smallest titling, Death of the Author in Triplicate. Mark Nash. It's a tripartite book, the first third of which is my favorite and is the longest. It follows a senior investigating officer on his way to a fresh murder. Interesting way to put it, a fresh murder. It's not one of those murders that's been left out for a few days. And that was just genius. What he's thinking on the way to the crime. I won't say more than that because I probably would get it wrong. The next two sections they don't let up in terms of interest, so it was absorbing all the way through, but it was, that first third was really, really amazing. Fatland, Dave and Roy. Not a lot of you are trying Dave and Roy. Dave and Roy does nothing spectacular. He can be very funny, but he doesn't let loose often enough. This one starts out very funny, and then it resolves into a well-observed novel, and it's about power and money in India, and the cover is one that I think the wrong color was used. I mean, it's a great cover when you get right down to it, but you don't, see from there how great it is. I mean, it covers the whole thing too. That's what I love about it. I think when we reprint this in the future, after you all buy a copy because of this video, we're going to make it a different color. Um, okay, I write books too. Um, this is the Balkan Flip. It's Adriatica Deserta, which takes place in Zadar. Um, it's a bit of it has the sort of pace of a fable with a few odd things thrown in, um, some great limericks. And then the other novel is Cranberger with Monkey, which is about a political sleaze reporter who writes about assassinations and is sent to Minsk to write about all the journalists being killed by Lukashenko's thugs and the prefects myrmidons, as it were. And you know, because he's going over to this general area. Not that we're very close to Minsk, but we aren't that close to Belgrade either. It's about 7 or 8 hours drive, I think. 4 to Zagreb, or 3 by now. I think it's only 3 hours to Zagreb from here, if you don't have traffic. And then Belgrade, I can't remember how far. I think it's 3-4 hours beyond that to Belgrade, Sarajevo, so on. So he has old friends and contacts and so on, and because he's coming over in this general area, he decides to come to visit people in Belgrade. And I don't know if he goes to Bulgaria, but Bulgaria. There's a lot of talk about real assassinations that occurred, and well, okay. I lost. What do I want to say about that? Well, what I do in this one is I fuck around with the first person, second person, third person, as if first person is just one person. Second person, there are 2 people narrating, and third person, there are 3 people narrating, and they keep getting assassinated. So that's the joke of the book, and it's all around a romp of a book, and I like it a lot. But what I really like is the way I sent these photos of my monkey. I have a monkey over there. He's about, from ass to head, he's about like this high. I don't know, 2 feet, maybe 3. Anyway, so I sent these pictures to Zach Tanner, and he wiped out the background, which I think was brilliant. The table was white, but he might have made it more white. But anyway, I just love this book, The Balkan Flip. I don't care if you buy this one or not, because I just love having it around. And finally, the last one I'm going to talk to you about is by W.D. Clark, who's a sly fucker who can really tell a story. Although, it's hard to talk about this one because there's nothing on the back that tells me what it's about. Although I read it a couple of times. She sang to them, she sang. It's about real estate, realtors. But he does some really interesting things with dialogue and so on. But it's not, it's something that you'll appreciate, but it's actually, it's harder to describe than it is to read. So we're going to leave it at that. Here's something that I marked. Or, for that matter, Bernie, whom she hoped was rotting in a mold-infested and understaffed and multivalently negligent extended A care somewhere, eating tepid, reconstituted, dehydrated mashed potatoes, and yesterday's tuna surprise in passing gallstone after kidney stone. And if gallstone was a compound word, why not kidney stone? Well, that was a parenthetical. Anyway, big, fat book. I mean, not enormous, 400 pages. But look, it's even got a map in it. These are some of the books we've got. We've printed now. We're getting close to 80 books on tap, with about minus 10 that went out of print, but will be back in print eventually. We just got 3 of them back in print. and that'll keep up. At some point, we'll have a back in print half year, but we also have to have a back in print royalty month, or maybe royalty semester, because we're behind in royalties because uh, it's easier if like recently I paid someone whose book is out of print, Jonathan Trosclair, Purple West, which was a fine book. That would be on this list if it was here. It's available as an ebook, I think, right now, but I don't count that. I don't count that as being in print, and we're going to have to catch up. But I just paid him his royalties, $60, or something like that. I think it was $60. Yeah. Um, we don't sell thousands of books, except in the case of American: The Cult of the Cactus Boots, and Stickley's book, A Bended Circuity, is almost up to 500 now. Um, that takes a toll on a bookseller. You know. Recording will be stopped when something happens. I don't know what it is, but anyway, that's enough. I'll shut up.